Hey, everybody. So we are live. Um, I am here with Tiffany, homeschool mom extraordinaire, who, who also, just like myself, leads a homeschool group. And she is, we are both in Southern Idaho. I'm in the Magic Valley. She is east of the Magic Valley. She runs a Facebook group and a co op. And we are here to talk about co ops and what a co op is and hope that we can inspire you to think about co-ops, and even if that's something that you yourself could even coordinate one for your area. So Tiffany, the first thing I was telling you, would maybe be good to explain what a co-op is. Do you
Right,
want to explain what a co-op is, because there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, about what it actually is.
right. Yeah, thanks for having me, Jennifer. So a co-op it's pretty broad, but it's basically a collaboration of families or individuals that come together and share a common goal. And so there's a lot of different styles of co-ops that are out there. And so if you think about food co-ops, farmers bring their food together and
Mhm.
then you could purchase from them. They work collaboratively. So same with the homeschooling community. It's just a group of families that want to share in the learning experience together.
Right. And usually, from my understanding, there is a partnership in some way, usually with the parents. Oftentimes, parents, um, like the parents that are involved in the co-op, will oftentimes be the teachers of the co-op, or
Right.
the helpers in the co-op. So they might teach. One parent might teach one class while another teaches another class, and they sort of um,
Share the
pool,
responsibility.
pool the responsibility, share their talents with
Yeah.
everybody. And so you started a co-op. I'm fascinated by this. I'm actually just started. I'm going to be hosting a couple of classes at my home. It's not a co-op. They're enrichment classes, which I'm really excited about. I'm happy to do that for my daughter. Um, but I'm really fascinated with your journey and how you came together to create this co-op, and it's ongoing. And can you talk a little bit about your co-op and how it came about?
We're not a traditional co-op. Let me start off by explaining that. So we are actually an enrichment program.
Mhm.
Um, so traditional co-ops, like you explained, the families will take on the responsibilities of teaching a variety of classes, maybe not
Mhm.
anything in particular. You kind of just collaborate together and decide what you're going to teach. Somebody decides. So it's very volunteer based. Um,
Okay.
we are a little bit different. We're structured a little bit different. We began our journey as an LLC. So we actually started with a business model, and this year we have moved into a 501(c)(3). So now we're a nonprofit. We are considered a co-op in the definition that we are all coming together to share the
Mhm.
responsibility. However, um, we have a fee-based schedule set in
Right.
place that's not set by the parents that are teaching the classes. That is set by the organization,
Okay.
and then we contract the teachers or parents as either 1099 contractors or volunteers. And then we just ask the families that we also run a drop off style. So
Mhm.
traditional co-ops in the homeschool setting will generally you cannot leave the campus wherever it's being hosted. The families have to stay on campus, and the whole family has to remain there. Ours is not
Right.
like that.
Okay.
Ours is a drop off. So parents just come and drop their children off. We have insurances to protect that. We have various protocols
Right.
in place for that. So we're just a little bit different. So we're in our third year. We've learned a ton over the years,
Mhm.
as we've grown. So
And for this upcoming fall, what what classes, I mean, I know, but you can tell everybody, what classes are you offering for your, I saw your à la carte
we do have an a la
classes.
carte.
Yep. what type of classes, enrichment classes are you offering to the local community?
Right. So we have this year, so prior years, we separated into two age groups and we did um, K through 3 and then 4th and up. And this year we did it a little bit differently. And so we're actually doing 3. So we have K through 2, 3 through 5, and then 6 and up. Our 6
Mhm,
and up group keeps expanding, which we feel like is a huge blessing that we're tapping into this age group that really, is sometimes a challenge
mhm.
to get into. I'm going to pop into my drive real quick so that I don't miss any great classes as I explain classes here. Um, so we are modeling a little bit differently. Um, but this year, so our all day program is on, we just host that 1 day a week, and we call
Mhm,
that enrichment classes. And we have 3 class offerings we have 3 periods, and then 3 class offerings for each period or age group. So we have things like nature, art and science, music and movement, playful
mhm.
pioneers, mathematicians are people too. We always have a PE class structured in for each age group. So this year we're running 3 PE classes, whereas previous years we've just ran 2.
Mhm.
Um, we have a walk through the park, which is the national parks study. We've got beginner design for Canva, and our idea behind that class is to create a
Mm.
yearbook staff, which will be really
Oh,
fun.
that's cool. That's
We
really
have,
great.
yeah, we're excited about that. We have aerospace,
Mhm,
we have watercolor, and then we have some science classes and a nutrition class where the little kids will get in the kitchen, and we also are doing a performing class. So that one, half of it will be studying Shakespeare, and then the
mhm.
other half is going to prep for a local production that they will do at the Festival of Trees in November. And so that's probably going to be singing. So we've got a little bit of performance in there. So
Oh,
those are
that's
our
very cool.
Wednesday classes. And then because we had a lot of interest, so
Oops.
just to
I'm
back
so
up a
sorry, I'm
you're
distracting you,
good,
by the way. I have a
you're fine,
little technical issue. Sorry, give me 1 second.
you're good.
As I was telling Tiffany earlier, I'm an amateur, if you can't tell. I actually have a camera issue, so I'm just gonna fix it really quick. I was
Good,
trying to do it on the sly, but
you're fine.
hmm,
I'm gonna
1
back up just a little
second.
bit with the development of the co-op while you're fixing your camera, if that's
There
okay.
we go. Okay, I fixed it. Okay,
Good.
we're good.
Yay. Um, the co-op actually kind of came out of the idea of offering an Idaho history class. So
Mm,
I found an Idaho history extraordinaire teacher that loved to teach Idaho history. She was a retired teacher, and
mhm.
for 3 years, we hosted an Idaho history class. Well, many of the parents actually asked for multiple classes
Yeah.
like that. So that was how um, how our program got started, was the request of many home educators in our area. They just really liked that model. And knowing some history in the area, we knew that the parental involvement type of co-op model just wouldn't work as well in our area. It's very demanding on families, and we have, our demographic is large families, lots of age varieties, and so
Mhm.
the drop-off model just kind of worked a little bit better, that enrichment. So
I can see
this
that, yeah.
and so Idaho history, we offered the first year with our teacher, and then she decided to retire completely. She needed a break. She did teach an alternate class for us in the second semester, and then we just feel like we needed to bring that Idaho history back. However, we didn't want that to be a class taking up space on our Wednesday program, because then we would have
Mhm.
students moving in and off campus for one class period, which is we had done that the 2 previous years. We called it the a la carte. You could just come to one class.
Mhm.
but we decided that it just wasn't a safe option having people move on and off campus. And so we just approached the facility that we host our classes at and asked them if
Mhm.
they could host an alternate day. And so now we're doing a la carte day. And so just for one time period, we're offering 3 classes. We did put a poll out into the community to ask what kind of classes, or areas of need in home education, because we just really want to come alongside our families.
Right.
And everybody loves art. Lots of people wanted help with the writing. Writing seems to be one of those intimidating subjects
Mhm.
amongst homeschoolers, unless you're an English major. But then, even so, it's like, how do I
Mhm.
teach somebody how to do this? And then, of
Right.
course, Idaho history just is, it's required, it's fun. It's always great to learn about the state that you're in.
There are a lot of people who ask in our group about Idaho history.
Hmm.
And I notice there's a larger group as well, for the state. People ask about that as well. That's something that I would like to hit eventually too.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and the history is fun. It's kind of a fun history, you know? So,
Well, we have Lewis and Clark, and
yeah.
there's lots of fun parts of our
I know
state to
the
study.
Oregon Trail goes right through nearby where I live, so
Yeah.
it's a really, interesting, because like, as kids, we would play Oregon Trail, the game,
Uh-huh.
and it was kind of like, it was a thing, like, you knew it was real, but, like, here it's actually real, it was a
Yeah.
real thing here. I find that really cool.
Yep. Lots of opportunity to field trip to those areas too.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's really good. Yeah, finding out what your community needs, and then supplying that. Um, I mean, that's where I would like to grow in that area. Right now I can only offer a couple of classes at this point, at my house. I don't know if that will grow, or if I can get more parents on board, to do something. But I really like the skill learning aspect. So for me, the classes we're doing, and like I said, we're not a co-op. Um, but the classes we are doing are enrichment classes. Right now, one is a sewing class. We're going to do a knitting class. It's sort of like a fun way to learn a skill, but also socialize. Um, and, as our kids especially get into their teen years, I just think that's really important. And so I'm trying to provide that in my family. And by doing that, you provide it for other families. And eventually, I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, well, when we're done homeschooling, eventually it'd be nice to pass the torch, to build something and pass the torch onto somebody else
Great.
who can carry it on.
Yep.
And yeah,
And that's
so
where the
that's
nonprofit status really helps, because you create the board and then you can pass that on. That whole model. Is that what you're referring to as, like, passing on the business
um
the idea model, or just
or
the skill
just
set?
yeah, I don't know if I can ever take it that far. It just depends. I know how much work a nonprofit is. I don't know that I can do that at this point.
You
um
definitely have to have a team.
Yeah, from what I know of them, it's a big commitment, and there is expense involved, and there's things that you have to consider, and I don't think I could do that at this point, but yeah, it could even just be passing the torch on in terms of, like, somebody carrying it on for me, even if it's not a nonprofit, they just feel
Right.
inspired to carry those things on. Um, so yeah, so eventually, are you still considered an LLC? Do you mind if I ask that? Or did you I can't remember.
No,
So, did you move
no.
over then?
Yeah,
You
this
moved.
summer we worked on, and that was our goal from the beginning. I couldn't do this without my amazing team members.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have been very blessed in our area to have just a great group of teachers, and my co-director that helped create this entire program with me. I can't take credit for all of it. We definitely split the many hours of work that we have labored into this. But we did start as an LLC with the idea of knowing we're going to move into a nonprofit. We
Mhm.
just didn't know how to do that right away, and LLCs are super easy to start up. And so we just did a sole proprietor for the
Right.
last 2 years. And then this summer, got in contact with some great contacts out of Texas, actually. And they just walked us through the whole thing, like basically did everything for us, and have been just a really great at coming alongside as we learn how to structure as a nonprofit, as an LLC, because we did have to change some things. You know, we had to hire we had to do some hiring, so we have to do employee, and there's, clear definitions on what is considered a contracted employee. So we had to do some
Mhm.
education and make sure that we're aligned with the government's requirements with IRS. We definitely don't want to, you know, be out of line in that respect. So,
Right.
but it really wasn't that challenging because we had the idea, and so along the way, we have put into place a lot of the things that we knew we would need. So we have a lot of just policies and procedures and those things already in place that helped us move into that nonprofit model very easily.
That's so great. I mean, and that's what like so if for people who watch this, I want them to see how you've done this. And I know that one of the founders of our group, which I won't name because we're on YouTube, but one of the founders of our Facebook group, our homeschool support group, that was her goal, was
Mhm.
eventually to turn it into a nonprofit. So, and things happened, and that didn't end up happening, but that was one of her goals, I think, was to turn it that way. And so, maybe someday that will happen. Who knows, maybe someday there's a way to do that. Um, but yeah, so people watching, so see, this is attainable. And that's, one of the goals of me doing this is to show you that, Tiffany's no different than you, right? We can all do these things. We don't have to live on an island, we can all step forward and take things like this on if you can. I know people are busy and it's a lot. But it is something that you can do just like Tiffany does. And
And I'm
oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
I just want to encourage too. You don't have to go as
Yeah.
elaborate as what we have done.
Right.
Gathering a few families together and sharing responsibility of your education. That's a co-op. It doesn't have to
Mhm.
be this big thing where you're inviting an entire
Exactly.
community to my heart, because previous to this I have ran a field trip group since 2016, and so I was already tapped into a large range of our local homeschool community and had met several of them. And so through the experience of running the we just set up field trips for every month during the school year, and had done that for years. So it just made
Mhm.
sense for us to move into that direction because that was what was required. And like you said, I, you know, I did feel called into it. I felt led
Mhm.
to it. But definitely it doesn't have to be that grand. And you don't have to do 501. You can run
Yeah,
bare bones and be just fine.
exactly. That's a great point. There's so many levels of how you can create something and build community and come together. There's so
Yep.
many levels, like I was saying, I can do a few enrichment classes at my home, and that's what I can do right now, but I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited to have, my daughter have the opportunity, to meet new friends and to learn skills. And so, like, there's so many levels of it. Um, and yeah, so and that's I guess that's the point, right? Is like if you have a vision for something or you want to make it happen, you can. you know? And that's part of the reason too, like, in our groups, I think Tiffany would probably agree, like, we're here for you. So if you have an idea or if something's, going around in your mind about something you'd like to start, I mean, we have a little bit of experience. Tiffany has way more experience probably than I do in this department. I'm just kind of starting out, but we are here to help support and offer whatever we can
Right.
um, to our fellow homeschoolers. Yeah, because here we are. We are homeschoolers. I didn't expect to be a homeschooler, but here I am. And did you expect to be a homeschooler, Tiffany? Was
No,
that in your plan?
no, no, actually not. I didn't even expect to live where I live, honestly. I thought we would be elsewhere, with the degrees
Uh-huh.
that my husband had sought during college. So, um, but we're where we're supposed to be and we're doing what we're
Mhm.
supposed to do, and I wouldn't change it. I had every intention of sending my children to a private education. That's not an option in our area. And there's not anything that aligns or fits our values for our families in our local area. So the next best step was, through friends that had gone before me, just encouraging that I could do homeschool. Um,
Mhm.
so that's really where and it's morphed into so many different images over the years. We've been at it since 2015. Um, so we're moving into year 9, and
Mhm.
it's just changed in so many ways, even from those early days with,
Oh,
4
yeah.
little boys in one little room, thinking I knew what I was doing. So,
Yeah. Oh, definitely. You have to admit too, I mean, I've been doing it for several years as well, and just the amount of resources available today
oh yeah,
is so different than when I first started. My son is now in high school. He's high school age. And so over those years, I mean, it's really skyrocketing. I think a lot of people are coming over to the homeschool um, side of things, and it's becoming more mainstream as people become dissatisfied with what their choices are. So
yes,
it's become more mainstream, and with that, a market is opened,
yes.
and so it's amazing to me the amount of resources I can find. It really is, and
It,
several different types of resources. So you don't have to just buy that one thing by that one publisher. There's so many publishers now. It really is amazing.
it's amazing, and it can also be overwhelming.
Yeah.
So it does create like the decision fatigue. So that really is, another aspect of my vision is to come alongside as maneuver into home education with your family. You know, I would love to just be an advocate for you and help you
Mhm.
learn, from what I've learned. And there you go.
Oh my god.
Uh,
Like
anyhow,
I said, amateur, sorry, Tiffany.
you're good.
I hope you can laugh with me at my
Yeah,
camera
that's
falling
great.
over. Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
just it's my heart to just come alongside, and that's really the heart of our community. We have such
Mhm.
amazing seasoned homeschool parents and involved in both of the groups, both our enrichment program and the field trip group, and we just want to see everybody succeed. And however that is that you decide with the
Mhm.
education of your child. I'm definitely not going to say like you have to home educate. I would never say
Mhm.
that to someone because everybody's life is so different. But being able to make that decision with your child's education confidently,
Right.
and with support if that's what it takes. Some people are fine doing things alone. Others aren't. They need the community. So
Mhm.
we're here, for whatever that reason is that you might need
Right.
to walk alongside you.
I agree with that. Like, if you find yourself over here, we're here too. I'm such a big believer in having lots of options and options that suit your family. And only you know what suits your family. So, and I'm not by any means against public school or private school or anything like that. We just happen to find ourselves here and went with it. And so, you know, if you find yourselves over here in the homeschool arena, we're here for you. There's so many resources out there for you. And like Tiffany and I are doing, you can create them
Mhm.
and you can create them if you can't find them. And that was one of the other reasons that I started to try to do. Um, I started actually doing art classes on Zoom during COVID, um, because my background is in art and graphic design, and my daughter also she loves art. So I started doing Zoom classes for our homeschool group during COVID, but I continued it and wasn't sure. I didn't really have the space to do it in my house after the COVID wave kind of settled. So I continued to do them on Zoom and it was great, because you don't have to bring your kid over. They can just pop onto Zoom and we can, do our lesson and they know that they're with a homeschool family.
Right.
Eventually, I think it'd be great if I could do something here at my house in the arts. And maybe that's something I can do after, we test out these enrichment classes, see how it goes. Cause you have to dip your toe in before, you can do more and learn from that. So I'm going to see how that goes. Um, I really like to, as a child who was creative myself, um, it's sometimes hard to figure out your life path when you're a creative in a way. And so, um, last year actually started I did a few graphic design classes on Zoom, which I wasn't sure I how to do it exactly, but what I did was went back to the old school way of designing without a computer and taught the kids how to do it that way. Before computers were around, graphic designers used to lay things out by hand and draw things by hand. So we
Mhm.
did the concepts that way. And I thought it was great. I thought it was better than using a computer because, the kids were able to visually in front of them learn about headlines, hero imagery, like putting an ad together when you have to, move around, like if you cut out strips of headlines and which one fits better and which one looks better. So we did it that way. But I'd like to eventually try to do something in that area because for creative kids, graphic design is a path that they can follow to earn a living. And it's actually ever evolving and people always need them. People always need designers.
Right.
So that's something I would like to do. I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but um, you know, learning as I go with the classes. So if I can offer that, I would really like to eventually. And then maybe, you know, that will inspire somebody to look into a program, as they plan out their future and consider that if they're creative. Because I understand being that way and had to learn the hard way with getting a visual art degree first and then having to go back to school again. So I had to take a hard path to learn my lesson. So because it's very hard to support yourself. The reality is there's realities to life, and it's very hard to support yourself with just an art degree, as my dad kept trying to tell me, and I did not listen. And so here I am. But and actually I do use a lot of my visual art in the graphic design. So it's not like it was a total waste. But you have to be careful with colleges and universities too because they'll make it seem like you can get into a program like that, a visual program. I went to a nice school, but they can make it seem like, and this is for anyone listening as you help your kids plan their careers, the schools can make it seem like these type of programs, they can elevate the level at which you'll graduate. So like meaning mentally. So like they can make it feel like, okay, you're going to get an art degree. It's really no different than having an engineering degree. It's really no different than having this other type of degree. But honestly, it really is. Like you really have to think about what you do. If you go to college and you help as you're helping to guide your children. I mean, I know they have to find their own path, but it's good to tell them your mistakes because you leave college often with debt and you want to have a way to support yourself. And a lot of college degrees, you get out of there and you're like, I don't really have a skill. I just spent all that money and went to school for 4 years, and do I really have a skill that I can sell? Like be paid
Right.
to use. So anyway, that's a long tangent. That's for another another live we can do. Career, helping your kids with their career planning. But yeah.
Yeah.
So as a creative, you can be led. I guess that's my point is like you can be led to believe that visual art degree will get you just as far. But honestly, it probably won't. So so as somebody who's made that mistake, I think it's really cool to offer some kind of, I don't know if direction's the right word, but with my graphic design classes, if somebody is creative, they can channel it into a skill that is actually something that they can get a job on off of,
Right.
so like they can be hired for. Um, and so I think about that too. I do think about in the next phase of classes that I'm thinking of is kind of careers for kids. My kids are getting up older, and so they're still a bit too young to really think totally about that yet. They know what they like to do, but something else uh, for people thinking about classes is career classes. You know, um, as homeschoolers, we don't have guidance counselors. We are our children's guidance counselors. And so, uh, career ideas, I think, are something to consider um, because we're the ones who are going to help them and prepare them for that part of life, which honestly isn't that far away. At
Right.
least for me, it's not that far away. So, anyway, that's kind of a long tangent, but something to consider if anybody is considering doing classes, that is another avenue to consider is helping children prepare to choose a career or think about something. They don't have to go to college. They could also uh, learn a trade. And so I know there's homeschool groups. I follow a homeschool group that is geared towards parents who have children who want to learn a trade, and it's actually really it's an interesting group to hear to listen to because not everybody's the same. And so anyway, there's so many options for classes that you can do. I've been talking to my husband saying like, oh, you could do a career class. We could get some kids over here and you can help with that. um so anyway. So
That's definitely on our radar too, since we do
is
have
it
such a large demographic of older students. Like I said, mentioned before, we're very blessed by these older students. However, they're moving in to the high school level, quite
yep.
quickly. So we definitely have plans in the works for all of those things. And you do have to, that's the great thing about having a community like that, a co-op, is that
Mhm.
um, you have an opportunity to bounce those ideas off of each other. And then maybe somebody's skill set is that area, setting up those
Right.
things. And then, maybe that's not my area. I'm more of an administrative type of person. I love sciences. I dabble in a lot of things, but if somebody wants to take that on and drag
Mhm.
my children along with them, I am like, go for it. That would be a
Yeah,
blessing to me. And hey, I'll handle this end of it, the administrative end of it. So,
right.
um, that is the benefit of having a cooperative of families working together, whatever that model is just being
Mhm.
able to collaborate together and find that common goal and set those goals and move towards them. It's great for people that like to have that community and direction. So,
I agree. I'm such a fan of just talking to people, talking to each other,
right,
um, getting to know each other, and like you said, you might find that there's a parent in that area that can help share their expertise, and I've always loved conversation. I think conversation is such an important thing. Um, and, I want homeschoolers to consider thinking that way too. Not that they're not like that, but just that, the more we talk and chat and pool our resources, the more we all benefit. That's kinda how I see it. Not everybody operates that way. Some people that just like to do their own thing, and that's totally fine too. Um, but, you know, I the more I see that happen in our group, the more people come together. They're like, "Hey, you know what? We're lacking in this area. I'm gonna start this. We're gonna meet up. We're gonna do this." I just love that because
Yeah.
it helps people come together. They can talk, they can learn. Um, and like I said, we don't have to live on an island just because we homeschool. And so I say, be out there, use your voice. um, oh, sorry if you hear my cat, she's whining a little bit. I'm sorry. She's bringing my daughter. She's trying to look for my daughter. She has a toy in her mouth, so she's
Oh, no.
whining. Tiffany, is there anything else? It's almost like kind of a pretend mouse, and I think she might think it's a mouse.
Oh gosh.
Um, is there anything else you'd like to let people know? Um, if anybody wants to get in touch with Tiffany, I was going to say they could message me because mostly the people who will see this will be in my group. The people in your group know you, right? So if anybody watching this wants to get in touch with Tiffany and learn more about her classes, you can just message me
Yeah.
and I can put you in touch with Tiffany and vice versa. Um, but yeah, I is there anything else you wanted to add? Because if not, I can wrap it up.
I think that the only thing I can offer as a final note of encouragement is, if it's on your heart to start something like that, or like a co-op or something,
Mhm,
and I just would encourage you to not be discouraged on those lonely moments. Um,
mhm,
it often takes time for these things to take off. I when I began the field trip group, many times I sat at the mom coffee meetups by myself in the
mhm,
morning. And, I just planned to take a book and I used that time to just remind myself why I was doing what I was doing. And, now I get to reap those rewards. I didn't give up. And now coffee dates, even if it's just my husband and I, are still just sacred times.
mhm,
Maybe I plan a wrong weekend and everybody's out of town, but I just enjoy, all the people that take the time
mhm.
to attend events and participate. That's an encouragement. So
Yeah.
if it's not on your heart to start something, but you see someone starting something, reach out and be an encouragement to them. If
Mhm.
you feel called to, you don't have to dive in, but just those little words of encouragement, this is great. It's really helpful.
Right. I agree with that. There's ebb and flow to everything. And
Yeah.
you're right, things do sometimes take time. And people need to also get to know you and feel comfortable
Yeah.
um, putting themselves out there. I think people sometimes are afraid. People can be intimidating, and even just getting to know somebody can be intimidating, right? And you always feel like you have to be on, or people have to like you, or human interaction is a very interesting and complicated thing. And so you're right, it does take time. Um, and that's a wonderful note to end it off on. And I just want to thank you for coming. And um, sorry about the technical difficulties. And if you'd like to do this again, I would love to. And we can touch base and when you have some new classes and things coming up.
And
So
thank you for inviting me.
yeah, definitely. All right. Thanks, Tiffany.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.